Hey, what's up guys, Adam Lobo here from Adam Lobo TV, and in this video, I'll give you my full in-depth review of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9S, and I'll answer every single question that you've asked me in my unboxing and the first impressions video, so let's check it out. Now, since I've already did the unboxing to let you guys know what comes inside of the box, let's straight dive into the specs. Now, the Redmi Note 9S comes with a Snapdragon 720G chipset with the Adreno 618 GPU. The variant that I have is the 4GB of RAM, but there is a 6GB variant as well, with also either 64 or 128GB of UFS 2.1 storage. Then it comes shipped with Android 10 with MIUI 11. Now there's three colors for you guys to choose from. The one which I have is called the Interstellar Grey, which I really liked, and is also available in Aurora Blue and Glacier White. Now, starting from the phone's design and build, when I first held the phone, when I took it out from the box, my first reaction was how heavier it felt, which is a good thing as it did not make the phone feel cheap. The phone has a Corning Gorilla Glass 5 both in the front and also at the back, with a very unique finish at the back, which is not really a fingerprint magnet, but it can get some smudges over there. And then the sides are made of plastic with a matte finish where you can see the side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which unlocks decently quick, not the fastest, but I suspect is because of the animations of the icons, which makes it look like it unlocks a bit slower. Then the four cameras are placed right at the middle of the phone with a square camera bump, not too small, not too big. Well, some did complain about it, but I find it fine because the most important thing is, of course, if it wobbles when you type it on a surface, and the good news is that it doesn't. Now, like other mid-range smartphones, it comes with a flat screen display with the camera hole punch right at the middle instead of the sides. Now, as for the phone spots and buttons, looking down below, there is the USB-C port, the headphones jack on the left. Then there's the mono firing speaker over there as well. On the right, there is the volume rocker and the side-mounted fingerprint sensor, which doubles up as a power button. Then on the left, there's a dual SIM card and micro SD card slot. And finally, on top, you'll find the IR blaster. Now, as for the phone screen, it has a 6.67-inch IPS LCD display, which was fine given the price factor with a maximum resolution of 1080 by 2400 pixels. Now, the biggest question asked about the phone is whether or not the screen had any bleeding issues, which some has commented and mentioned about it when the phone was just out. Now, firstly, it is not visible, but yes, if you really pixel peep like this, I still can't see it. But as you guys can see right now on the screen, it is not that apparent. And second of all, calm down guys. This is an IPS LCD display, not an AMOLED screen. So obviously it is not going to be as good as an AMOLED screen. With the price that you pay, you literally get what you pay for. So for me, as a person who loves high resolution display and a screen, I honestly felt it was pretty okay. So yes, there's no issues or complaints when watching videos on YouTube and Netflix, and the full screen videos on Netflix just goes before the notch area. Now, looking at the camera specs, the phone has 4 cameras in total as mentioned, where one is a 48 megapixel f1.8 aperture lens, an 8 megapixel f2.2 aperture ultra wide angle lens, a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro lens, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now, when it comes to the 48 megapixel mode, as usual the pictures were great, but like I've always said, I would only recommend this mode if you really need to punch into the image. Then as for the regular shots, the pictures were great with just the right amount of sharpness and the dynamic range. And as for the ultra wide angle shots, I really love how the images look with no distortion at the edges, and there's no color temperature shift when I switch between the ultra wide to the main lens, and also the 3x digital zoom images as well. I also found that the portrait mode to perform well. Even with some complicated shapes, it still manages to get a nice object to background separation, which was really nice to know. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I actually really love macro lenses, especially when you can focus on the subject easily. While some may not find it useful, but I am a genuine fan. Then as for the night shots, overall it was great with no complaints on the image quality. However, I wish that the night mode had a wide angle lens because it's only currently available for the main lens, so this could be a deal breaker for some. Then as for the front camera, it comes with a 16 megapixel f2.5 aperture. And looking at the selfie shots, I would recommend to turn off the beauty mode to get the best quality images, where everything from the image quality and the sharpness was really good. Then looking at the portrait selfie, here's where I felt that although it had just one lens, where the background separation to me as the subject of the focus was really great, as the images really looked like it was taken on the flagship camera. So yes, I was truly impressed with the front camera. Then as for video, the rear camera records up to UHD 4K 2160 up to 30 frames per second. But what's weird is that you cannot use the 4K mode with the ultra wide angle lenses, so even if you set it to 4K and you change the lenses, it will automatically switch to 1080p instead. But the quality for the 4K was great, but the image stabilization wasn't great, so I would recommend using the 1080p instead, where the video quality looked decent and it was super stable and almost gimbal-like for all of the three types of the digital zooms as well. Then as for the front camera, it records up to 1080p up to 30 frames per second, where the quality was great, but not so much on the image stabilization as you guys can see. Now as for the phone speaker, it has just a single monopharynx speaker, but guys, I did find that the speakers to be very loud at a maximum volume at 91.6 dB, and it also had a surprisingly good sound and clarity, and here is a quick sound test. Now as for the phone software, it is shipped with Android 10 with MIUI 11. Now here's where I did find some cons when using the phone as my daily driver, as I felt that multitasking can be sluggish at times, and I felt that it was more when I was going through my Google News feed, especially when the pictures were being loaded. But once it was loaded, it was fine. So in my humble opinion, I would consider getting the 6GB variant, which could potentially solve the issue, or maybe a software update, as this is the 4GB variant. Because when it comes to smartphones in general, I do find that 4GB of RAM can be a hit or miss when it comes to heavy multitasking when using the phone for your everyday usage. Now one of the reasons why the Redmi Note 9S had a slightly heavier weight to it when I took it out from the phone, took it out from the box today. Now one of the main reasons why the Redmi Note 9S had a slightly heavier weight to the phone is because it's packed with a huge 5020 milliamps of battery. So yes, there's absolutely no battery anxiety when I was using the phone as my daily driver, where I got a massive of 8 hours and 2 minutes of screen on time when I was at 10% battery with dark mode turned on, to make sure that I'm fine with the dark screen without the screen bleeding issue. So yes, this is surely one of the biggest plus of the phone. And it also has fast charging up to 18 watts, which was interesting because the box actually comes with a 22.5 charger. So that was great to make the charger, in a way, future-proof. So yeah, good job Xiaomi. Now as for gaming, I tested PUBG on the graphics settings at HD and the frame rate set to high. And the game did run well with a tiny bit warmth at the top part of the area just next to the camera area. But overall it was fine, even when I tested out with Asphalt 9 as well. Now in conclusion, overall the Redmi Note 9S is a great phone and is my recommended phone under 1000 ringgit, with an amazing battery life and improved screen for those of you who have complained about, and of course a pretty decent camera within this price range. Now like I've said earlier, I would recommend getting the higher RAM variant just to be sure when it comes to higher multitasking reasons, where the 6GB of RAM with 128GB of storage is going for 899 ringgit, and the 4GB of RAM with 64GB of storage is going for 799 ringgit, and I'll leave a link down below for you guys to get one. Now if you guys have been watching this video till now, thank you. A thumbs up would be very much appreciated, and subscribe for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Lobo, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Now looking at the phone screen, it has a 6.67 inch IPS LCD screen la day. And as a person who absolutely has